turn the stuff up here. Hope everybody can hear me a-okay. Yay! It's snowing outside. People in Nebraska are like, what's with the snow? And I'm like, it always snows every April. This will be our last snow, hopefully, right? So, which will lead us right into tornado season. So, I want to say hi to everybody. This one is all about overcoming your fear and anxiety. And we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks on things that you can do to help kind of work through your anxiety and be able to work through some of the fear that you have. So, and this is going to be really good. If you guys don't know, there's a chat bar. So if you have any questions, by all means, ask on the chat bar. Go right ahead. So that way we can, because I'm sure if you have a question, somebody else will too. So it's all good. So I meant to put out a newsletter here lately. I haven't had any time to whatsoever. So at Awakenings, we're doing a flash sale. So I've been quite literally packing everything and getting everything ready to go. So been a little behind, but hopefully I can get caught back up here. So, and I'm still doing individual readings. So, so hopefully it's looking like, you know, if everything goes good and the government says it's a-okay, we're maybe hoping to open up our doors by May 1st, maybe mid-May. So we don't know. We're kind of rolling with it and just seeing how this rolls. So, I want to thank everybody for, again, not only supporting me in the business, but just supporting me in general. I really appreciate it. So this one is all about fear and anxiety. And how I kind of want to start this is that there's how I see it is a little bit different, right? So, because for me, depression is living in the past. Anxiety is worried about the future. And if you go on any of these spiritual, you know, journeys or books or whatever, they're always talking about how you're supposed to be in the here and now, right? Always want to be in the here and now. That's hard. That's hard to do. And so hopefully after this video, you can get some good tips on tricks on things that you can do to help be a little bit more in the present or in that here and now. Like I said, fully aware that shit's not easy. Fully aware of that. So biggest thing I want to talk about is, you know, we have to identify what kind of anxiety it is. So some people have social anxiety. Some people have like the mom anxiety. They're always worried about their kids. So everybody's different in their own department, I guess, of anxiety. And anxiety really is fear. That's what it is. So, and the biggest thing I can tell you is fear is the complete opposite of love. So when you're in a high vibrational state, you're happy, you're in gratitude, you know, you're able to keep the vibes pretty high. Anxiety lowers that. So depression lowers that. So, and fear lowers that. So ultimately fear is what we're talking about, because anxiety is a derivative of fear. So that's basically what it boils down to. So the one time my dog barks, right? So every time. So that's why I want to talk about this, because I have learned, and because I had social anxiety, I still deal with it every once in a while. Don't get me wrong. It still pops up once in a while. So when it pops up, I've learned some tips and tricks that I can do that help me to kind of get me back where I need to be. And so the biggest thing I can tell you is number one, let's figure out what the triggers are. Is it social anxiety? What exactly is that trigger? What is that? Is it, you know, is it because you have too much time on your hands? Is it because your mother taught it to you? I don't think people realize that your parents can teach you bad habits. They teach you how to worry about money. They teach you how to worry about other people and what they think. They teach you these things. Your job is to unlearn it. Your job is to learn how to be in the here and now. So first things first, I'm going to tell you, if you do have depression, I'm going to tell you, I don't want you meditating when you're in a depressed state. If you are depressed, meditating is probably the worst thing you can do. And the main reason why is because you're going to ruminate in that. You're going to feel stuck, stay stuck, icky stuck. So if you're in a depressed state, I'm going to tell you, don't meditate. So, and if you're anxiety ridden, having panic attacks, that's not the time to meditate either. The time to meditate is when you don't really have much going on. So that's the best time, but you've got to learn how to control your thoughts. And meditation is the only way to learn how to stop your brain and get it to chill the hell out. So And it's very common, extremely common when somebody begins to go through a spiritual awakening. So when you begin to go through a spiritual awakening, you have a lot of anxiety. It's almost as if somebody took a bag off your head and all of a sudden you're seeing things for what it really is. So anxiety, completely normal. So that's why I want to tell people it really is normal to start in a spiritual journey to have anxiety and depression. It's because you're now seeing things for how they really are instead of the disillusion or the illusion that you saw earlier. Now you're seeing it for what it really is. And it's really depressing. You're like, wow, I can really see people for who they are and they're not as good as I thought they were. And you know what? That's a-okay. That's okay. That's kind of like phase one of the spiritual awakening, is realizing that the things you thought were real really aren't that real. So the biggest thing is that you got to give yourself a break. So don't be so hard on yourself because you didn't know any better up to this point. So when you begin to go through a spiritual awakening, what I will tell you is that you've got to learn how to forgive yourself. And that's really hard because people are the hardest critics on themselves. They really are. So that's why I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this. And I will tell you, if anybody asks me what's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, it's easy. I can identify that. It's actually forgiving myself for the mistakes that I've done, to hurting people, to not seeing things for what they were, and all the other things. So the biggest thing is eventually that's kind of the cure is forgiveness. And that's really where it lies. So, but to get there, we have to identify it, right? The second thing is that you have to be able to talk your way through it, because if you don't talk to yourself, it's going to go 100 miles an hour, way off in the wrong direction. So you got to be able to talk your way through it. And what that does is it slows the brain down. So we have two sides of the brain, okay? Our right side is really intuitive, very creative, very magical, right? So our left brain is logical, keeps us safe. So this is what they call the ego. That's the logical side of the brain. So, and then we have our intuition. So what always happens is the intuition hits you first, and then your brain goes, now wait a second, dummy. That is the dumbest idea you've had, and you can't do that. What it's doing is it's programmed, and it's programmed to keep you safe, doing the same thing over and over all the time. So your job is to talk to yourself and go, now wait a second, self. Let me think about this for a second. Is that really a fear of mine? Or is that because I don't know what I'm getting into and I want to try to control everything? Ultimately, anxiety is a form of control. You are trying to control your environment when you have no control at all. And I'm telling you, there's only 3 things you are ever in control of. 3. That's it. It's what you do, it's what you think, and it's what you say. That's it. That's all you have control over in this world. You don't have control over anyone else. You don't have control over anything exterior of you. You don't have control about, who's going to cross the center lane when you're driving. That is out of your control. And ultimately, anxiety is a form of control. You want to control every little aspect around you at all times. And you have to learn to literally relinquish and surrender. Surrendering is like, okay, clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. God, I'm going to let you have this one. I'm just going to let you have it. I'm not going to worry about it. And instead, I'm going to work on something that I can do that's healthy for me. So that leads me to the next thing, is that the minute you start feeling yourself spinning into that anxiety or that panic, you need to physically get up and do something different. Physically. You cannot sit on the couch and be like, oh, well, let me think about this more and more and more, because the longer you ruminate on that, the worse it's going to get. And then you get a panic attack, and then you feel like you're having a heart attack, and then you go to the doctor and they're like, it's a panic attack. So I'm going to tell you the worst thing that happens in a panic attack is that you pass out and then your heart goes back into a normal rhythm, and so does your breathing. So that's why our bodies go into panic attacks, is to kick our body back into a normal rhythm after your brain shuts the hell up for a little bit. So the biggest thing that I can tell you is that you've got to learn how to control your mind. And again, the only way to do that, it's not with drugs. It really lies with meditation. And I'm going to tell you, the people that have issues with anxiety and depression have a very difficult time sitting there for 10 minutes and doing absolutely nothing. I'm not even saying control your thoughts. I'm just saying sit there for 5 to 10 minutes and do absolutely nothing. Be bored. And the reason why it's so difficult is because they're constantly used to distractions, constantly used to go, go, go. I need to distract. I need my phone. I need my phone. I got to have a distraction. I need my phone. I got to look at this, got to look at that. And I'm telling you, don't. Make yourself stop, sit, chill. And at first, when you first do it, it's going to drive you nuts. It's going to drive you absolutely crazy. You're not going to like it. But this is where the self-discipline comes in, because I don't care. Drugs and alcohol aren't going to do it. Yes, meds are absolutely going to help you. But after a while, you got to learn how to deal with your emotions. You cannot let your emotions control you. You must control your emotions. And yes, bad things happen to good people, of course. And when it comes to trauma, we've got to work on the trauma. And if that means that we need a counselor and some meds to help us get it through it, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you what, that doesn't make you weak. In our society, somehow along the way, if we reach out for help, it makes us look weak. And I'm telling you, it's not. It's not. So it has nothing to do with that. You're wanting to better yourself. Hallelujah. I think that's great. So especially with guys in our society, they're told, oh God, you can't do that. It's bullshit. They should be able to do that. So like I said, the biggest thing is that I just want you to learn how to sit there for 5 to 10 minutes and do absolutely nothing. And I am fully aware of how difficult that is. So I say that because I used to be there. But a little bit every day, So the other thing is that I used to have issues with panic attack. So especially with social anxiety. What I learned how to do was, when I could feel it brewing on, I would force myself to breathe differently. And when you always hear like, you got to take a deep breath. Okay, when they say take a deep breath, they don't mean here. That's a shallow breath. It means Buddha belly. It means pulling the air through the diaphragm and making your belly go big. In through the nose, out through the mouth. If you do that 3 times, it forces your body to chill. Forces it very quickly to chill. And so that's one of those things that I want you to learn how to do, is just when you feel it brewing, you're like, okay, oh, I feel it brewing. Take a deep breath, because you're used to going into it. You're used to going right into it. I'm like, so you've got to like trick yourself into doing it a different way. So, because ultimately, here's the deal. Fear is lack of control, because you think you're in control. And the other thing is fear of the unknown. It's the what if. And that's where anxiety lies in all that too, is the what if. And I'm like, you can play the what if game 8 ways from Sunday. And then when it happens, they're like, oh, that's it. And then if you were to look back at all of the scenarios that you just played out in your head and all of the worry that you just did, was it really worth it? No. And then what you end up doing is blowing out your adrenal glands. You're exhausted all the time. Then you have weight gain, and it's all because you cannot control your thoughts, your anxiety. That is why you see the 1111. That is Spirit's way of saying, get control of your thoughts. Your thoughts control you. And if you ever read any self-help books, and any type of like, books for helping you and getting rich, all these books, they all say the same thing. You've got to learn how to control your thoughts. And at first, I thought that was crap. But once I started meditating, like I said, I went from the trailer to a 4-bedroom house very quickly, because I learned how to control my mind. And Susan, that's a really good one. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I believe that, what's his name said that? He's a black guy. He's a really good motivational speaker, Les Brown. So, but Les Brown always said that fear is false evidence appearing real. And it's because you allow it. So the biggest thing is, like I said, find out what those triggers are. So if you're really also worried about it, the other thing that I'm also going to tell you, and I did this with Steven at one point, Steven was really fearful about me dying. He's like, well, what happens if you die? What happens? What if? I mean, like, you could see the panic. And I'm like, okay, time out. What if I die? Let's talk about this. He was like, I'm like, no. We're not going to react that way. Let's talk this through. So now he knows if something happens to me, he knows that he's going to go live with his dad. He knows where I would like to be buried. He knows the whole thing. So when the panic comes up, he's like, oh, that's right. We found a solution for it. It's okay. So when it comes to kids, usually I tell parents, you got to wait till they turn about 12 years old, 13 years old. And then we want to kind of force that panic. Now, what do I mean by this? Is that, so what I did with Steven is I literally gave him $5 at a gas station. I said, go inside and get a gallon of milk. And he looked at me, deer in headlights. And then he tried to convince me, well, I can't because of X, Y, Z. I'm like, oh no, we're not leaving until you go in and get a gallon of milk by yourself. And the sheer panic that kid had took me, and I knew we were going to be there for a while. So, cause he was going to try whatever he could so he didn't have to go do it. But I made him do it. And it took a half hour. But he finally went, well, what happens if I don't have enough money? What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? So we played the what if game for damn near 20 minutes. He finally went in, got the gallon of milk, came in. He was sweaty. He was nervous. But at the same time, when he got in, I said, now, how bad was it? And he goes, I don't ever want to do that again. I'm like, buddy, this is the real world. Okay. You're going to turn 18. You're going to leave. So you're going to have to learn how to do uncomfortable situations like this outside of me. So when it comes to kids, force them to do those uncomfortable things now. Don't let them manipulate you, or they're never going to leave the house. So, and a lot of moms are like, well, my kid has anxiety and I don't know how to help my child. I'm like, you want to help your kid? You're teaching your child how to panic. You're teaching your child how to panic. Children don't know anxiety unless it's taught to them. Somebody's teaching it to them. So if you want to fix your kid, you fix you first and your kid will follow. They do every single time. So the biggest thing, Dawn, I'll tell you what, that's a really good point. Dawn said, my whole life has been based on fear since childhood. How do I break it? Go back to your childhood. Understand where this really, truly comes from. And I want you to forgive your parents, because you've got to look at how your parents were raised. They probably raised you the best that they could with what little they knew, because of the way that they were raised by their parents. And that's where the forgiveness of your parents comes in, because they didn't know any better. But what's great is that you would never treat somebody like that again. And if you become a parent, you'll never treat your children like that, because I tell you, some of the best parents I've ever known is because they've had shitty childhoods, because they'll never do that to their kids. So that's why I'm like, so your fear lies in that childhood, but look at the big picture. Understand that your dad probably did fear-based responses because he wanted to keep you safe. Maybe that's the case. So that's an easier pill to swallow. So like I said, you've got to be able to really break this down and look at the core issue on where this is coming from. Like I said, did somebody teach it to you? Is it a fear-based traumatic response because of something that happened to your childhood? So usually it's something fairly similar to that. So, and that's where you have to really, like I said, sit with yourself, talk your way through it. Again, people with anxiety, you can't just sit there and think things through. There's no stopping this. So that's when, like, you got to literally, in your car is the best place, I've learned, is just to sit and chat to yourself. Be like, okay, self, now wait a second here. Let's really dig into this and figure out where this is coming from. So, and a lot of times, like I said, it's going to deal within trauma, because it's a trauma response. You're responding to something that was old school, and that ain't you now. So, but like I said, the biggest thing is that you've got to forgive the traumatic thing that happened, because like I said, bad things happen to good people all the time. And it's unfortunate. It really is. But on the other side of that is a very valuable lesson. And you've got to look at what it taught you. Look at the valuable lesson that you learned from this. Number 2, learn how to respond, learn how to feel differently about it. When it boils up, talk your way through it. I don't want you to respond old school way. You got to respond differently. So, and if that means that, I've learned that when my brain does that, I will literally clap my hands 3 times. I know that sounds so weird, but it gets my brain out of whatever I was thinking. So I literally go, I'll do this and I'll stand up and then I'll walk around a little bit. And almost right away, my brains are like, I got to do dishes. I'm like, So it automatically goes from worry and panic, whoop, to dishes that quick. But like I said, you've got to be able to do something different. But like I said, ultimately, you really have to look at the way that you were raised. Like I said, is this a traumatic response? And you got to look at how your parents were raised. They didn't know any better. So back in the day, they beat your butt for just chewing with your mouth open. I mean, thank God we don't have that nowadays. I mean, yes, it still exists, but not to the extreme that it did back then. Nobody did doctors and back then. Nobody did counselors. Nobody had any problems like that. They all beat their ass. You get in trouble and you get your ass beat. And that's how our parents were raised. But again, they raised us the best that they could. And we're raising our children the best that we can, but better. So because we've learned from their mistakes. So that's where it really, you have to look at this. And you hear this ancestral stuff. Well, that's where it all lies. You have to really, like I said, dig in and look at how they were raised and understand that they didn't know any better. They were raising kids and they were traumatized and worried all the time about money. So, but yeah, somebody's talking about childhood trauma. Still don't know what triggers my anxiety and panic attacks. Tried everything. Can't figure it out. I panic every waking second of every day. So let me ask you this, Peyton. What is your biggest fear? Because you can't be scared of life. You can't be scared of life. What exactly is your biggest fear? Is your biggest fear, are you scared about what other people think of you? Are you scared of being actually hurt by another person, physically or otherwise? Are you scared of, like I said, let's really dive into this, Peyton, because she goes, I don't know where this comes from. And I'm like, there's gonna be something, you'll see. So my question, Peyton, to you is, like I said, what is the scariest thing? And I have a lot of moms that will come to me and they'll want to get a reading just to reassure that their kids are going to be okay. And I'm like, so let's play this through. What happens, God forbid, if you would have to bury a child, what would you do? And people are like, oh my God, I would just die. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't die. You would be hurt. Yes. You would grieve for a long time. Yes. But you would still have to get out of bed the next day because you have other children to raise. You would still have to function in society. So the biggest thing is, that's why I'm like going, let's play this out. Let's really look at this for what it is, because a lot of people, they get panicked at that situation, but they never really thought all the way through with that. And so, like I said, we have to really look at the trigger or what the big what if is. So, but a lot of people can't comprehend even going there. I'm like, go there. That's how you're able to face the fear itself without it actually happening. And it has nothing to do with manifesting it. So I'm just scared of every what if. That's too broad. No, Peyton, that's too broad. The what if, that's bullshit. So I'm gonna call you out on that. What are you scared of? Are you scared of making a mistake? Are you scared of what other people think? Are you scared of failing? What are you scared of? The whole what if, that's too broad, that's too general. No. So that's why I'm like going, so do you see where where I go with this. That's I'm like going, I don't do general. I'm going to go right to the core. I'm going to go right to the problem so we can fix the problem. Because if you don't fix the problem, then we can't come up with the solution afterward. Because all you're going to do is just keep going around in circles, keep going around in circles. So, and Jerry, you said my fear is the unknown. So, and that's a control issue. So I would be even willing to bet money, Jerry, that you have issues when it comes to headaches all the time because you're probably a perfectionist on top of it. And that means to tell me that most unlikely your mother or your father was always wanting you to be very perfect, very, very perfect. That's where that one would lie. So that's where that one would lie. So hopefully if this is starting to kind of make sense, right? So a lot of people will sit there and say fear of failure. And I'm going to tell you, most unlikely, it's fear of success. You're not thinking about the failure. You can't even imagine what it would be like to succeed. That's where it lies. Because you can imagine 8 ways from Sunday, fear of failure. I could do this, I could do that, I could fail this way, I could fail that way. But where your mind doesn't go, but what if you succeed? What would that look like? How would that feel? That's a different kicker to fear of failure. Fear of failure, you've already had it figured out. You've already figured out fear of failure, but you've never figured out fear of success. So, which is the success, which is the opposite of it. So that's where I would tell you, instead of going, oh my gosh, look at all these ways I could fail, I would say, well, wow, look at all these ways that you could actually succeed. And I would rather have you give it a shot, because I'm going to tell you the biggest regret that dead people have is that they never gave it a shot because of fear of failure. They never tried, and they wish they would have had the courage and the balls to do something different that most people wouldn't do. So, and I will tell you, the only reason why I came out in Nebraska as a psychic medium is because dead people taught me how to live life. They wish they wouldn't have listened to their mommies and daddies saying, oh, well, you don't want to do that because what if so-and-so thinks of you doing this? You know, what is the community going to think of us as a family if you do this? So those are the type of people that are like, so I listened to my mother. I did a 9-to-5 job. I died. I forgot to live life. And whereas a lot of people are also, you know, in fear of, like I said, they go, I listened to everybody else and I should have listened to myself and done what I wanted to do with my life. And that's where a lot of this comes in, because people have the tendency to want to self-sabotage themselves because the idea of them being successful is so scary that they'll self-sabotage and be like, well, I knew it. I'm like, you didn't even give yourself a chance. You slit your own throat 3 feet from the finish line. And all you can tell me is, I knew it. And I'm like, that means to tell me somebody back in the day told you were never good enough. That's where that comes in. And you bought it. Instead of you going, you know what, that's not true. You believed it. You bought it hook, line, and sinker. And your job is to go, you know what, no, that's not true now. That's not true now. So, but does that make sense? I hope, like I said, I want you guys to look at this from a different perspective. So, let me see. Fear of failure and success tie together. You self-sabotage success. They do tie together. They really do. You know, because one time I said something to, oh man, it was 10 years ago. And I was right on that border of figuring out that I really was a medium. And I will tell you, when I came out as a psychic medium, I knew that I was going to piss people off. I knew that I was going to lose friends that I've known for years. I knew that there was going to be people that weren't going to believe me. And I knew that I had to speak my truth. I had to honor myself before anybody else. And I will tell you, it's a disservice to yourself to try to be something that somebody else wants you to be. That's dishonoring yourself. You can't do that. You have to be able to honor yourself. So the biggest thing is that's where it really lies. So So let's see here. Fear my kids don't love me as much as I love them. Danetta, that means to tell me that one of your parents, you loved them, but they never showed you love back. So what you're doing is parenting them through guilt. You're going to parent through guilt, through love, and hold them hostage that way, because that's your issue. And that's where that fear comes in with your issue with your kids. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah, and Carol's like, self-sabotage was the name of my game till I worked on myself. So you do, you have to get to a point where you're comfortable with who you are. But if you don't know who you are, then you can't even start. And that's when you've got to learn how to be A-okay with spending time alone by yourself and not needing somebody to be a distraction. So, and I will tell you, I learned how to be my own best friend. So I learned how to be my own best friend. So you have to learn how to be your own best friend without distractions. So, and that means that sometimes you have to put yourself in different situations. So if normally you would never go out to dinner by yourself, I would encourage you to go out to dinner by yourself. Is it panicky? Does it make you sweaty? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, when you did it, you go home and you're proud of yourself. And that's who you need to be proud of, yourself. So like I said, it's easy. Everybody's always worried about letting other people down. So they're willing to let themselves down to let other people happy. You cannot do that and expect to be happy. You cannot expect to help everybody else and not yourself first. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. What's your recommendation for extensive trauma that isn't really regulated by any of these mechanisms? Leah, if that's the case, then like I said, you would have to go to a counselor and do some intense therapy. I would tell you, look into EMDR. That's a really good method. Sometimes like EMDR retrains the brain. So the other method would be even check out hypnotherapy. Sometimes we can work on that through hypnotherapy because it's a deep subconscious issue. So that might be it. So I have been fearful of what others would think of my abilities, especially those I grew up in church. I did too. I'm Lutheran. And the minute I came out and said who I was, my church denied me. Absolutely denied me. And you know what? I had to forgive them. And the reason why is because they're just protecting their own, and that's okay. So I can't be mad or upset at somebody who doesn't know who I am or my connection to God source energy, and they want to judge it through a different lens or a different filter. That's okay. That's okay. You can't be mad at somebody who's opposite, different, anything else. If anything, the church has taught me that everybody is my brother and sister. Just because we may not see eye to eye doesn't mean that I'm any better or worse than anybody else. It just means that they're my brother or my sister, and I have to treat them as such. Even if they don't treat me that way, I forgive them for their ignorance anyhow. That's what you do. So, but like I said, it took me a long time to get there. I am not saying this stuff is an overnight deal. It's not. It's not. So, Angela's saying, is there any way to help your partner that has anxiety? Pull out that fear. Like I said, identify it. Where's that fear coming from? Give me an example. Like I said, what really, truly scares the hell out of you? And I'm going to tell you, it's funny. Everybody always fears death. And I'm going to tell you, it's not death that you fear. It's the pain that you fear, not the death, not the death. And I'm going to tell you that when it comes to that point, rarely is there ever any pain. There just isn't. So we would like to think it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So, and the biggest thing I can tell you is that if you fear death, it's because you don't understand death. So educate yourself. Look into it. So look at near-death experiences. Look into stuff like that. And you're going to find really quick that there's nothing to fear. And I will tell you, after talking to people on the other side, they fear death in life too. But remember, this is like a weird dream. When you die, you go back home. But you don't remember birth. You're not really going to remember death either. So to worry about something like that is irrelevant. It really is. But it's valid when you're human. So if that makes any sense. But let's see here. Hard to get past everyone liking me too. It really was. But I got to a point where even when I came out, I sat my mom down and I said, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. I am not asking your opinion, nor am I asking for your permission. I'm letting you know what I'm going to do and what I'm going to announce. And either you're going to accept me for who I am or you're not. And you know what? Either way, I'm okay with your choice. I'm just letting you know that I'm going to announce that I'm a psychic medium and I'm going to lose a lot of people, and some people might come to you too. I just wanted to give you the common courtesy of what I'm going to do. So, and it really, like I said, when I announced it, was I sweaty? Oh my God. I was up for like 24 hours trying to figure out how I'm going to word this, how I'm going to let everybody know who I am and what I'm doing. But at the same time, there were people that I would have never thought supported me that did. And other people that I thought would be my friends for life didn't. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Because now I know who my true friends are and everything else. So that's on my going, it in the long run of things, it's okay. So, yes. Marissa, I panic and have anxiety because I feel that I have to take care of everyone and everything. Marissa says who? Says who? Who said that? Again, you bought somebody else telling you that that's what you need to do, or that they even want your help. You just assume they do. What if they don't? What if they find you very intrusive in their own business? So, like I said, do you see the flip side of the coin on that one? A lot of my mama hens, my caregivers are like, oh, they need me. I'm like, did they ask you? Did they ask you for help? Oh, they didn't. So you're going to impose your wisdom and what you think and your opinion within somebody else's family unit when they really weren't asking. They just wanted to say hi because they love you, and they weren't wanting you to do that. So like I said, you look at the flip side of this. Like I said, somebody told you a long time ago that you must sacrifice everything for your family. Bullshit. Bullshit. You take care of you and you take care of your children. And that is your core people right there. And after your kids are 18, 19, 20, and they're out of the house, then you must go back to taking care of you. That is your job. So that means to tell me that you want to be occupied helping everybody else and you have a hard time figuring out who you are and what your own goals, ambitions, and dreams are. That's difficult. That's tough. So, but like I said, your job, you take care of you. Hard to do. Hard. An empath taking care of themselves is very difficult. Fully aware of that. Okay. My daughter is very fearful that someone is going to break in our house and hurt us, single mom of 2. How do I help her? Latifa, here's the deal with that one. That very well could have happened in a previous life of hers. So that might actually be a valid fear. So some of these fears come in from previous lives. Like I know a couple ladies that are scared to death to give birth. And I mean petrified to the point where they won't even have sex because they're so scared they might get pregnant and have to have a baby. And when I tell them, well, no wonder why you died in a previous life giving birth. So, and when they can identify that, they're like, oh, I'm like, well, that's a valid fear. And it is a valid fear, but it's no longer warranted in this life. So that's usually where that one comes from. Susan, I waste time role playing different scenarios. Suggestions? The biggest thing, I wouldn't even do that. Like I said, the biggest thing is that when your mind starts to go there, stand up and move. Walk, like do the 3 claps, walk around, do something different. Do something different. So can the people think call back? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you, I had good abilities before I started meditating. Once I started meditating, not only could I control my abilities, but they were clearer. And then when I came out and said, I'm a psychic medium, it was no problem at all. My clairvoyance popped on. All of my clairs were open. Everything was like, bing, it was all on. I was like, oh shit. So absolutely yes. Meds, and now if you're taking meds, because you have to, and there's nothing wrong with that, just understand that is a bit of a ceiling. You can't quite bust through that ceiling. So, but at the time, if you need to be on meds because you're dealing with some traumatic stuff, then that's okay. Then I'm telling you, because your personal development is going to trump your spiritual development every single time. Every single time. A lot of people are like, but I want to do your job. I'm like, but you haven't worked on you. You still have anxiety. You still have issues. You have to work on you before you can help anybody else. Because I'll tell you what, if you try to do that and not work on you, you're going to seem like a fraud and inauthentic. And the reason why is because us enlightened people, which there are a lot of enlightened people now, we can see right through it. You'll be inauthentic. So the best thing I can do is tell you, if you want to help other people, great. You must help yourself first. You have to. You have to. So because you'll be inauthentic if you don't. People will see it. So, yeah, Carol's saying that she's doing better because of the abuse and everything else. Absolutely. Absolutely. Why do I have anxiety and avoidance to journaling? I'll tell you, Kendra, I don't freaking journal. I don't sit down and write shit out. I can't. That is not how my brains work. That is not who I am. I hated school. I rebel against all of that. That's just not, I ain't doing that. So the biggest thing is again, somebody must have told you along the way that you have to journal. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you want to journal, don't journal. I just say it out loud. So that's why I'm like saying, talk your way through it. Like, So that's on my talk your way through it. Okay. I get obsessive sometimes thinking everyone around me is dying. Somebody's always sick, or I see spots and think skin cancer, all kinds of things. So Bobby, that means to tell me, so was your mother very much a hypochondriac? So that means to tell me somebody taught you that one. That one's teachable. So because, and that also means to tell me that, that would be hard for you to think healthy. So, so because sometimes people get so bored in their reality that they start coming up with this crazy shit because they're so bored. And I'm like, if that's the case, then you need to get some goals, ambitions, and dreams written down. So, because worrying just means to tell me that you must not have a lot of goals in front of you, or you don't know what they are. So, yeah, Kendra's like, yeah, you're so right. I've been told to journal. I'm like, I don't journal at all. I hate doing that. So Bobby said, yep, her mom was a hypochondriac. I'm like, right. So your mother taught you how to worry about health. And sometimes like they'll teach you how to worry about money. So I have people that are just like, oh God, I can't spend any money. And they have all this money. And my dad was a great example. They had all this money saved up for retirement and they die at the age of 45, never being able to retire, never being able to enjoy life. So that's why I'm like going, my dad taught me a very valuable lesson. I won't do that. Won't do that. So, but like I said, that's like that fear is coming from a hypochondriac mother. So, and that's I'm going, so your job is to go, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm fine. So anyway, what's on TV playing? And now look, it's snowing outside. So do you see how I just went one way to said, no, I'm okay. Because if you say I'm okay, it's a better vibration than I'm not okay, or I'm sick, or I'm whatever. So by the way, I'm going to talk to you about I am really quick. Let me tell you something about I am. They are extremely powerful words. I am. So when Moses went up the mount to Mount Sinai and he asked God, what do I call you? God's response was, I am that I am. So when you start the sentence, I am, you are making a bold statement. You also have to remember, you are a piece of God's light. So when you say I am, you better be very careful those words coming out of your mouth. Now, how many times a day do you sit there and say, I'm unhappy, I'm upset, I'm pissed off, I'm broke, I'm this, I'm that? Watch what you say. Watch how you say it, because I'm okay is way better than all of those. I'm doing great is even better, but I'm okay is better. I'm okay. Nope, I'm okay. So anyway, look at the damn snow outside, 4 inches. Ugh. So at least it'll go off quickly. So like I said, the biggest thing is I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fat. That's right, Rachel. That's what I'm going, no. So, here's the other thing is that I found this one out too. I found this one out. So, I will tell you that if the worst thing you can do is eat with guilt. If you feel guilty about what you just ate, that's a low vibration. Your body will hold on, that'll turn it into fat and it'll hold on to it. But if you say, I deserve this damn cheesecake today because I did 2 loads of laundry, if you say it that way, it won't stick. If you hold on to a guilt response, your emotions while you eat matter. So if you're doing it in a depressed state, if you're doing it in a guilt-ridden state, especially after you get done eating, it's going to get you. It's going to get you. But if you eat and say, you know what, I'm going to have me some cheesecake because, like I said, I did 2 loads of laundry today, therefore it won't stick to your butt. It won't. So you'll be able to digest it easily. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Yes. So the other thing, positive affirmations, love affirmations. Love affirmations. And I'm a big person that I'm like, get you, and I don't journal. I don't journal. Sheet of notebook paper. I am something once a week. Every Monday, I am something once a week. So, because here's the deal. After a while, and you must say it out loud, because when you hear it, you're like, yeah. After a while, then you start to believe it. After a while, then you start to think it. After a while, you start to see it. After a while, you start to believe it. And then after a while, you know it. You know it. So that's when but it must start with you. Your self-talk is detrimental to your health, to your emotions, to your spiritual connection, everything. So a lot of times people will come to me and say, hey, when am I going to hit the lottery? Because I'm so broke. And I'm like, you'll never hit it because you just said, I'm so broke. So broke people are broke-minded, period. Because they always tell themselves, I don't have enough money. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I never finished high school. So I'm never going to be able, because all society says, if I didn't finish high school, I'll be unsuccessful. But that's not true. We know a lot of people that were very unsuccessful that have become extremely successful over time. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like I said, another fear is being alone. A lot of people won't leave relationships, especially toxic relationships, because they're in fear of being alone. And that means to tell me that you have no idea who you are. So if that's the case and you're in a toxic relationship and you're not quite ready to leave yet, what I would tell you is spend time alone within that relationship. So when that person goes to work, spend time alone. Be like, okay, self, what could I do today that's going to make me happy? Eventually, I know I don't want to be in this relationship. So what can I do to start working on me to get me where I need to be? Not what I can do for other people, but me. So, that's right. Michaela's just like, so true. I think my money mindset came from my dad. Mine came from my mom. So you got to remember, our parents were the children of the parents who lived through the Depression, who literally didn't have a pot to piss in. So, our parents are very, retirement, money, money. And I do not talk to my mom about money anymore because she worries about money. I don't. And I know that every time I talk to my mom about money, it's going to trigger me into feeling inadequate, into feeling broke. So I don't talk to my mom about that anymore because that is my trigger. So like I said, know your triggers. Is it your husband that makes you feel broke-minded? Is it your children? Are you giving them money and they're 27 years old and old enough to get their own damn shit? So like I said, you really have to start breaking this down and looking at all avenues of it. So, somebody's asking how to use mala beads. You just put them in your thumb and your forefinger, or your middle finger and your thumb, and you sit there and you say a mantra. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise. So, and then when you get to a different bead, you take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and go right on into it again. So, yeah, you know what, Mary, you were never alone. You aren't. So, because I'll even tell you that I learned how to be me I learned how to be my own best friend when I was by myself. So I really did. That's where I learned it. So, and you got to learn how to be able to be your own best friend. So, and that means that, we get pissed at our best friend too. You're going to get pissed at yourself. Own it. It's fine. You get mad at yourself. We all do. So you're you're your own worst enemy, and it's true. So, let's see here. I actually started it. Okay, never mind. Any other questions? Can you still continue to develop spiritual gifts when we started using meds for anxiety? Yes. Yes, you can. So, and I'll tell you, Kendra, remember, usually when you start to go through an awakening and you need those meds, it really is just kind of it's just a bridge to get you to a good phase 3 or phase 4 of the awakening where you can tolerate this a little bit better. So, and like I said, just to get you where you need to be. So, another thing that people with anxiety have a hard time doing, and especially my empaths, but you guys have a terrible time setting boundaries. Set a boundary. It's not about the other person. It's about what you're willing to allow in your world and what you're no longer willing to allow. And that boundary has to be set by you. You don't need to tell the other person about the boundary. You don't. You just have to respect that boundary for yourself. So if this person starts calling again and bitching and moaning, you're like, you know what? Hey, my kids need me. I'll talk to you later. Click done, bye. That's it. That's a boundary. That's it. So you got to be really good with setting boundaries because it's self-preservation. It's to protect you, not about hurting the other person. So Shelly said, my mom is a great mother, but I'm scared I'm not enough. So I will tell you, you're raising good kids. If they're well-behaved, then you're a good mom. So of course, kids are going to be kids. I mean, they're not all perfect all the time. Good God, I can tell you that. But at the same time, your job as a mother is to raise morally good people upon graduation and that they can take care of themselves. And they have to be ready for the real world. They have to be ready to deal with their own problems. They have to be able to deal with their own fears and anxieties outside of you. But if you do it for them, they'll never learn. You've got to be able to be more, I think us parents anymore just want to do it for them. And then when they get to 18 and 19, they have no skills whatsoever. I'm like, you can't. You've got to let them fall. You've got to let them make their own mistakes. So that's why I'm like, don't be too overly motherly. So yes, I mean, we want to hug our babies. Don't get me wrong. So, but don't do it for them, because if you enable a child, you will make a disabled adult who doesn't know how to take care of themselves, period. So you got to do it. You got to do it hands off a little bit more. So the biggest thing, that's a really good one, Amy. So Amy just said something about, this is really hard for me because I have low self-esteem. And I'm going to tell you, Amy, if you have low self-esteem, there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, it's because your dad was not there for you in a loving manner. He probably was a workaholic, or he just simply wasn't there for you emotionally when you needed it the most, especially through the teenage years. Like junior high, we need our dads. So that's what helps instill with us self-confidence. And if dad isn't there, we have a hard time with self-confidence. And then we have the tendency to pick guys that are either workaholics or guys that don't pay any attention to us, or we pick dysfunctional relationships because we deem that as normal. So your job is to figure out, like I said, figure out what you hate about yourself, but understand that that is who you are though too. And so we talk our way through it. Again, I may have a double chin today, but at least my ass looks good. Always end things on a good note. Never end things on a bad note. Always end them on a high note. So that's what I'm like, we all have issues with ourselves. We all do. We're girls. And our society is absolute bullshit because it bases everything on that standard, which is totally shit. So, but the biggest thing I can tell you is, we all have bad days. It's kind of like today. I'm like, well, I'm having a bad hair day, but at least my attitude's good. At least I'm having a good day attitude-wise. So those little things will slowly begin to build up your confidence, but you must talk your way through them, okay? If a person in your life causes stress and anxiety, how do you deal with that? That means to tell me that you have no boundaries with that person and you allow them to do that to you. Don't allow it. Don't allow it. So, like I said, it's easier said than done, fully aware. So, but like I said, if somebody's constantly stressing you out, it's because you allow it. So, time to put up some boundaries. Time to figure out some boundaries. So that's where that one comes from. So COVID has caused new anxiety I've never had in life before. You bet. I'm going to tell you what, turn off the damn TV. Turn it off. It's the same thing over and over and over, and it's all fear. You ain't going to find one freaking positive thing on the news right now. I guarantee you. It's all fear. It's all death. It's all disease. It's all, oh my God, oh my God. Turn it the hell off. We're all connected on Facebook. We're all connected nowadays. If shit's going to hit the fan, you're going to know about it. You don't need to watch the news. Not right now, because there is nothing good on it. Not one thing. I'm even taking a pause from Facebook because there's too much crap. Way too political right now. And I'm telling you what, if you aren't in politics, just stop. Just stop. Because if you aren't going to be out there protesting peacefully, if you are not going to do something about it, then sit down and shut up, because you're just spreading your opinion over everything. And now people are starting to fight over it, which is even worse, because at this point, there's no point of fighting over it. Like I said, unless you're willing to do something about it, your opinion is null and void. All it's doing is hurting other people. All it's doing is making you look like a fool. So that's, I'm like, if you follow me on Facebook, I'm always posting positive things as much as I can, because I think Facebook right now is just an absolute shit show with politics and all this other crap. So that's, I'm like going, and again, if it's within your control, then by all means, step up and do something about it. But you don't need to brag about it. It's just like somebody going, oh, look, I fed a homeless person. Let's do a selfie. That is the dumbest thing. That just blows my mind. I'm like, you are not doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for a pat on the back. And that's crap. That's crap. So what strategies do you suggest for an empath not to attract and pick up other people's anxiety? You got to learn how to ground. I did a show on, or I did a deal here not too long ago on grounding and protecting. Go back, watch that video on YouTube. I am having an empath workshop coming up here pretty soon. I think it's next week. So I haven't looked at my next week yet. So, but like I said, I would tell you there's a lot of things you can do. You got to learn how to ground, black tourmaline, bubble tricks, salt baths. There's a whole lot of things you can do. So, but like I said, go back to the grounding and protecting video that I did on YouTube here. So that one will help a lot. I self-sabotage a lot, really bad have thoughts pop in your head, bad things happening to people I love and my animals. Is there any way to stop doing this to myself and control my thoughts better? Yeah, learn how to meditate, Tig. Meditate. That's it. That's the best thing I can tell you. Learn how to meditate. Learn how to meditate. Because that again, you got to figure out what your trigger is. Who taught that to you? Who taught you? So, and like I said, bad things are going to happen to good people. It happens every day. So, and you are not Superman. You cannot protect everybody all the time. It doesn't work that way. You are not that powerful. Angels are. You're not. You're human. So all you can do is pray. That's it. So prayer works. So, but at the same time, that's again, out of your control. Out of your control. So is it okay to meditate with music? Absolutely. You can meditate however the hell you want to. So absolutely, however the hell you want to. Unemployment was the most anxiety, but I'm better now. Good, good. Like I said, things are on the upswing, guys. I really honestly think by June 1st, actually, I think by May 1st, May 1st, we're slowly going to start opening up. By June 1st, I think most businesses are going to be open and we're kind of back to being fairly normal. So I do not think this is going to be long lived here. So I'm not worried about this whole second flare that might be coming either. I'm like, if they quarantine us again, okay. But in the meantime, is that within my control? No. Am I going to worry about it? No. So all I can do is right now do the best that I can today and tomorrow. So that's it. So can you repeat why people stay or go back to toxic relationships? It's because most unlikely, Ashley, because you had a shitty dad. Because your dad probably was either very narcissistic or rather abusive, and you deem that as normal. And for you, without dealing with that trauma, if you were to get in a normal, positive, happy relationship, it would bore you to tears. And you would start to be dramatic and act like a fool because you're bored with normalcy. So that's where it would start. Why do we have fears of quitting bad habits? Because our brain, our ego is made to keep us safe, made to keep us in the same routine, made to keep us and our bodies safe. That's why. So your job is to buck the system and go, no, I'm going to do it this way instead. So, and that's when you slowly then begin to take control. And I will tell you, you'll notice a big difference in your anxiety within 2 weeks of meditating every day. That's it. If you meditate every day for 2 weeks, you are going to notice a big, big change. Big, big. So all of a sudden, things that normally would make you anxiety ridden, you'd be like, oh my God, I used to get worried about that. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to do this instead. So you're going to notice a big change even after 2 weeks. So Ashley said, wow, spot on about my dad. Thank you. Yep. That's why a lot of people are like, I don't know why any girl would stay in an abusive relationship. It's because they don't know any better. Their fathers never showed them unconditional love. So all they know is conditional love. And they think that's normal. So like I said, unless they deal with that trauma, nothing will ever change. So there's an epidemic with teens and anxiety. I think it's related to social media. It can be. But you got to remember, our kids nowadays, they're less logical and more emotional. I'm going to repeat that one more time. We're logical. And it's not because it's because we're indigos. We're not emotional. We do things with truth and integrity. These crystal kids that are teenagers right now, they do everything based on the feels. They base their relationships, they base their jobs, they base everything on how it feels, not how it logically makes sense. Not how it logically makes sense. So you got to remember, they're in a completely different category. So as a logical person, you have to speak to them emotionally so they can hear you. Otherwise, you're on 2 different playing fields. And that's really difficult to do. So I'm a hugger, Sue. I'm a hugger, so somebody's going to give me a hug, right? I know. So Danetta, what do I mean by past and depression? Every time you're depressed, you're thinking about the past. Depressed people never think about the future. Depressed people always go back in the past of what made them happy back in the past or what hurt them in the past. So that's what depression is. People that are stuck in the past. If you are depressed, the first thing I'm going to tell you is get some sunshine. Second, move. You can't sit there. You've got to physically get out of bed and change your clothes, brush your hair, get ready for the day, just like you would any other day. And then get some sunshine out there and then start looking at, okay, today, here's what I'm going to do today. And here's what I'm going to do tomorrow. That's it. That's going to kick you back in a better frame of mind. The other thing is that if you are depressed, you have got to keep your house clean. You cannot have a mess in your house if you are depressed. It will make it worse. It will make it worse. So you must get up and clean your house. And if you have to hire somebody to help you, so be it. So be it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So how do you balance logic and emotion over time? It takes a long time. It really, really does. Like I said, you can't think emotionally. You have to think logically. So, and the one thing, here's the deal. I love my brother. And he made up a really good point. And I got to give him some props here, because my brother and I are different, but we're not. Now, my brother is a state senator, and he's really good about saying, you know what, let's think about this logically and not emotionally. Let's take the emotion out of it and think about it for the facts. Let's talk about the facts. And I'm like, okay. And I realize that emotional people don't do that. They think with their emotions. They react with their emotions. So it's difficult to think differently sometimes. And that's, I'm like, so let's think about this logically and not emotionally. Hard to do. Again, we're retraining our brain. So any suggestions on how to talk to your crystal children who are emotional? Yes. Number one, when they come to you and say, hey, mom, give them eye contact, say what you need, and then divert your eyes and let them talk. Because if they say, hey, mom, and you say, hold on a minute, you just lost them. They're going to eat their words. They won't talk to you. They won't. So that's why I'm like going, the minute they say, hey, mom, you're like, what you need? And then turn your head and let them talk. They don't want to do it with eye contact. They don't like eye contact. Let them talk. Don't interrupt them. Listen to what they have to say. Bite your tongue if you have to. Let them get out what they need to get out. And 9 times out of 10, by the time they get it out, they figured out their solution. They just needed somebody to bounce off their idea to. So don't get in there and give advice right away. Don't do that. Listen. Just listen to what they have to say. Because sometimes it's a very easy fix, but they have to get it out first. So that way, again, that's their rational thought. That's what they have to do. So, okay. Any other questions at all? Let's see here. I know I'm a little over time. I really don't care. Okay. that would have helped today with your son, your soon 14-year-old. Yeah, it's true. So, and that's why I'm like, sorry, okay, there we go. So like I said, the hardest part for me is I'm a fixer. And after being in counseling with my daughter, who's not a fixer, I've really had to learn how to just stop, listen to what she has to say, and listen to it as a 16-year-old girl, putting myself in her shoes, and somebody who wears their heart on their sleeve. I used to wear my heart on my sleeve too. I don't anymore because of everything that I've been through. So I have to go back and remember what it was like and give the best advice I can as a 16-year-old girl. So, and they don't want to hear, oh, you know, when you graduate, it won't be, they don't want to hear that. So they just want that comfort knowing that they're heard. So, but again, they don't like the eye-to-eye contact. And you'll notice, moms, some of the best conversations you have with your kids are in the car. You want to know why? Because it's just the two of you alone. There's no distractions. Nobody's necessarily on their phone, and they can talk to you without the eye contact because they know that you're busy doing something else. So some of the best conversations are in the car. And again, when they start talking, just listen. They just want to be heard. They don't necessarily even want a solution to their problem. They just want to be heard. So, did crystal children have a hard time telling the story? Yes. And you're just like, get it out already. Gee, I got shit to do. So it's like a 20-minute conversation, and it should have taken 2. So, but again, you got to remember, they have a childlike brain. They don't have an adult brain yet. Adult brains don't pop into gear until you're 22 or 23. Okay. So that's what I'm like going, let them keep talking. You're like, just keep acknowledging. Yep, I hear you. And just like I said, and even though you're just like, hurry up, let's go, listen to them anyway. And that's hard when you're really busy and you really want to get going. I get it. So yeah, Rachel, that I did too, until I realized that, like I said, she's an emotional being and I'm a logical being, and I have to be more fitted to her emotions. And that, like I said, that's hard. That's really hard. So, because like I said, I want my daughter to be happy, but that also means that I have to change me too. So, and a lot of adults don't like to admit fault. And a lot of adults think that it's their way or the highway. But I'm like, you got to remember, they're kids. Ultimately, they're kids. So, where would the fear of getting old and having others to take care of me from? Frankie, I'll tell you what, that is an independent person. So you're a very independent person, and you do not like to ask for help, and you do not like to rely on other people. So I'm going to tell you, most unlikely, frankly, your father taught you how to be, you got to take care of yourself. Nobody else is going to take care of yourself, and you got to learn how to be self-reliant and blah, 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 blah. So that's where that one would come from. So, and I've had to learn, especially with my mother. My mom loves to come in for the rescue. She loves to help, right? She's a wonderful mom. And I have a hard time asking my mom for help. It's gotten better over the years. It really has. But I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with me asking for help. I don't have to be independent and strong all the time. So letting my middle child do virtual learning for the next fall. As much as she makes me nervous, I let go and let her sign up. She's excited. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, don't let fear and guilt, that the issues that you have, dictate how you raise your children. And that's really where a lot of that comes from too. That's, again, these are huge concepts that I'm throwing down. So like I said, I'm fully aware of that. But like I said, if this is one of those things that, you know what, it's kind of like in high school, you didn't like cheerleaders, but yet your daughter wants to be a cheerleader. And you're like, no, you don't want to do that. I'm like, don't let them go. Support them no matter what their goals, ambitions, and dreams are, even as crazy as it might sound. I had a mother come to me. She brought her 18-year-old daughter. And I said, so what do you want to do for your career? And she says, I want to sing music and play music for homeless people. I'm like, fabulous. I think that's a great idea. And her mother, if looks could kill. So I said, so here's my question. So are you planning on living on the streets with them? And she goes, no, I'm going to get an apartment. I said, great. That's a fabulous idea. Love that idea. Where? And she goes, I think I'm going to go to, I think she said San Francisco. And I said, excellent. I think that's fine. So when you get to San Francisco, if you don't have a roommate, rent is pretty pricey. So what are you going to do to pay for rent? And that's when she went, oh. And I said, I still think that's an excellent thing to do, but that's not going to be able to afford you to live out there or be able to eat unless you're living on the streets with them. And if that's something that you want to do, who am I to tell you that you can't? I think it's a great idea. So, like I said, then she was like, oh, but the whole time I'm like, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, but all I did was go around the back door with this one. So, let's see here. My 16-year-old son has confided that he is depressed, but refuses to talk to anyone, and he's psychic. How do I help him? Carrie, that means to tell me that if he's depressed, it's because dad isn't in the picture. And dad needs to step up and be a damn hero in this one. So number 2, I would say get him into counseling, but don't tell anybody. And I want you to find a counselor who's fairly intuitive. Most counselors right now are enlightened. Most of them are. So, and then thirdly, Carrie, let him pick out the counselor. Give him the choice. Line about 4 or 5 of them up and say, okay, which one do you like? And he'll say this one and say, great, here's the deal. You and I will go in. Don't tell anybody else because he doesn't want anybody else to know. He confided in you. So don't tell your family. Don't tell your friends. Don't do that to him. So, but like I said, he probably is very highly intuitive, and very highly intuitive people have issues with anxiety and depression. So it's normal. So, but the biggest thing is that I'm like, let's work on this. You're depressed because your dad isn't in the picture, and your dad is supposed to define who you are as a man. And now that he's 16 and defining who he is as a man, he's going to feel pretty weak-kneed about that. That's where it comes in. So that's where I would say that's where we start is number 1, let's see if dad can step up to the damn plate here. So, and if he's not willing to, then that's fine. Then we're going to do the plan B, which is let's get him into counseling, maybe not meds. If he doesn't want to do meds, that's okay. There's other alternative things that we can do too. So if he chooses not to do meds but still wants to go to the counselor, because he needs some better coping skills. As a mom, we don't have those coping skills because we don't know that. So get him some better coping skills from that. And then if he wants to do things more alternative medicine, then that's totally fine. Totally fine. So, but like I said, look at all avenues. Usually highly intuitive children do very, very well with alternative medicine, chiropractic, acupuncture, better food, better diet, lots of different ways here. So, all right, guys, my voice is starting to go out, so I'm going to put a pause on this, but I want to thank everybody for again, tuning in, listening, all this good stuff. The biggest thing is, like I said, I want y'all to learn how to meditate. Let's start there. So, and I'm fully aware of how difficult that is. So, Oliver, I'll tell you what, if you don't like what I have to say, then don't fucking watch me. How about that? So, but leaving nasty messages ain't going to get you anywhere, honey. So, like I said, if you don't like to listen to me, although you must like to because you're still tuning in and listening, so fuck off. So, like I said, I've gotten better at my haters. So that's why I'm like going, you must hate me so much that you're still watching me now, ain't you? All right, guys, like I said, voice is starting to go out. I'm glad I could help you guys out even just a little bit with this one. But like I said, start looking at all different perspectives. Start looking at all these different avenues on how we can work on dealing with this differently, okay? There's other avenues out there. You just have to find what works out for you guys, all righty? Okay, thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will be in touch. I'm doing another free one tomorrow. Forget what am I doing tomorrow? Ooh, I forgot. What am I doing tomorrow? I forgot. Let me see. Hang on. It is, I don't even know my own schedule. How bad is that? It is how to raise your vibes. Ooh, yeah, that's right. So tomorrow is all about how to raise your vibration. Okay, guys, thanks again for watching. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Bye.